Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. It's Friday. We've got 10 games on the slate here and 4 player props to bring you guys in this video. We also have best bets up in another one, so go ahead and subscribe to that page so you can follow along with us all season. We're 7-1 coming off last night. 4-0 on the player props there as well. So we are on the mini heater now. And I do feel like this is that time of year, right, as we get before All-Star break where Nate and I start to heat up a little bit. So continue to follow along, as I said. Also head to thelines.com. Nate and I are using that each and every morning. Also using that prop finder tool mainly that's up there to get the best odds available to us that are coming at us from all these books this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first player prop here, Mr. Trae Young.
Yeah, I wanted to take him 2 nights ago. We just didn't have props up in time, and he certainly got his prop against the Lakers. Right now, it's 36.5 points and assists, maybe one higher than that if you want better odds. But he's about 40 on average in the terms of these stats. 3 since his return, nearly 29 points a game, 12 assists per game. And the assists should be much higher if you look at the advanced stats, 20 potential assists per game. He has the highest assist-to-pass ratio in the league in those 3 games. So his adjusted assists per game is 15, and the total is 249 in this game. I'm not going to try to pick which Suns superstar is going off. Durant and Booker, I went back and forth. One of them is. I can't sit here and tell you I know which one. But we do know how the Atlanta offense is going to roll. It's going to roll through Trae Young. As we see, most passes, most potential assists, all that. Basically, the only time he's gone under this in a non-blowout scenario is Orlando and Indy kept him under. I mean, that was kind of a blowout. Indy also weirdly holds point guards down, but he's good for 40 if the game is even remotely close. In fact, he got 40 against Orlando on January 7th. No problem. He averages 40 against Western Conference this season, 30% usage. His last 4 against Phoenix, not necessarily super relevant, but 32.5 and 10.5 assists on 35% usage. He's faced the Suns twice at home, averaged 40 points per game with 60-60 splits. And if you want to look more at this iteration of the Suns, they are allowing 28 assists per game, their last 9 road games, a 119 defensive rating. And I think maybe more importantly, they score 123 on the road right now. They are red hot. Offensively, the huge total. So I just expect, there'd be plenty of stats to go around. You're not hacking people, sending them the line when you know how confident you are in your offense and just the type of game environment you get into in Atlanta. So feel good about an over here.
It makes sense. Phoenix giving up the 3rd most points per game on the season, 2 point guards. Makes sense. And what that usually means is you're giving up points above the break, which they are. And what that means is that you're going up against top 3 player above the break in the league. I don't know, Steph Curry I put above Trae Young. Other than that, in terms of playing from that particular area of the floor, there's maybe Dame Lillard. I should probably throw him out there as well. But that's the 3 that I think of. And so if you're going to go up against a team that can't defend nearly as well up there as they can everywhere else, then yeah, Booker doesn't seem to have been playing that point of the defense sort of spot, right? He's not at the top of the diamond, if you will, on their sometimes zone, even, to be honest, that they play. So there should be 3s there if that's the case. And I do expect Trae to be getting into the lane a good amount, right? And being able to get in there and wreak havoc. So if you had taken just the points last game, he actually went under. He had 26, but the 13 dimes, it's a good reason that you should be combining this stuff. The way you intelligently did that with Jordan Clarkson last night, because he got 10 dimes and only 16 points. So well done there. Let's move on to my first best bet. And I'm going to God, JK, Jonathan Kuminga. Look, man, you're going to put his points total under 20 points. I'm going to take it over until you start doing it. So it's at 19.5, and I'm going to hit the over for my boy JK. He's at 16 field goal attempts a game, man, over the last 7 games, and everything is rising. For the first time this season, the news coming out of Golden State was Draymond Green praises Jonathan Kuminga and says that he's carrying our team. And he still said it in this kind of condescending way of well, we used to carry him, so now he's got to carry us. It was all right, Dre, whatever. But more importantly, that's what they're leaning on now. If you looked at the way that they played down the stretch against Philly, not impressive that they had to really pull that one out against the Philadelphia 76ers team that didn't have their 2 best players. But they did, so kudos. And they did on the strength of Jonathan Kuminga coming out in the 4th quarter and putting up 6 points and 3 boards in that quarter, putting up 3 free throws as well. 2 free throws in that quarter, but averaging 4.5 for the game. And, he's going up against this Memphis team who is a lot different looking than when Steven Adams was there. By the way, newly acquired Rocket, right? Steven Adams, because they traded Victor Oladipo for him. So that was interesting. But yeah, so now I mean, everybody's out. We've already known that Brandon Clark is out. Xavier Tillman's playing, but he hasn't been much of a rim protector. And Bismack Biyombo is no longer on the team. Santi Aldama is not very good down low at all. So that's why Memphis has been giving up so many attempts down low and so many makes down low. The 8th most makes inside of 5 feet. Jonathan Kuminga is one of those dudes that's playing everywhere. Like he's either shooting from 3 or he's shooting right around the rim. There's a couple mid-ranges in there, but honestly, most of those mid-ranges aren't even mid-range. They're more like inside the restricted area, or I'm sorry, outside the restricted area, but in the paint, right? In that little floater range, if you will. So that's where he's scoring all of his points. That's where Memphis is most vulnerable. Even Triple J has not had his sort of block numbers. He's now more of the do everything on offense guy alongside, I guess, like Vince Williams. That's really what it is now. Maybe some GG Jackson tonight is what we'll see for Memphis. I know that stuff scared you from taking them, but in the total in this game. But I still believe in the total going a bit over in this game of 223 because the Dubs are so bad at defending the 3. That's all Memphis is shooting these days in general. And the rim they have been pretty bad at as well, as they've moved in Trace Jackson Davis for a lot more minutes. And that has led to a bit less rim protection even than Kevon Looney, who's at least a bigger body than getting back down the way TJD is right now. So for JK, though, like his splits are stupid, man. He's shooting 61% from the field, 41% from 3 right now as well. And yeah, he's doing it all. I don't really know why you wouldn't feel good about him. He's up to 32 minutes a game, and that's also rising from the like 26 a game that he was averaging just like 8 games ago. And then now all of a sudden we just shoot up 40 minutes the last game, 36. Like he's up there now. He's their dude that's coming in and taking over. And I think he's really just 1B at this point to Steph in terms of their looks on offense.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, it's a G League lineup from the Grizz, so it's not really a game where you expect Steph and Draymond and Clay, who's under the weather, right, to have a high usage rate. They can continue to lean on Kuminga and Triple J because he's carrying such a heavy load on offense, not really the defender he has been in past years. So I'm looking at Josh Giddey here for a first time in a while, over 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. You got to bundle them together for a guy like Giddey. Although 11.5 rebounds and assists is also very good to me. I mean, he's not a great scorer. In fact, he shot 2 for 11 in his first opportunity to play more minutes without J-Dub, who's out with that ankle. Isaiah Joe also out for the Thunder here. I mean, that's a Denver defense that is very disciplined and obviously very, very good, championship level. But he still made 39 passes in his 25 minutes, plenty of potential assists. Well, now he plays the Charlotte Hornets, which is, mostly a team of basically the opposite of in terms of championship medal. A bunch of rookies, a bunch of guys with no experience, no LaMelo and Gordon Hayward likely. They're 5 since the Rozier trade. They're allowing the highest field goal percentage in the league, 3rd most assists, 6th most rebounds, 6th most points. Giddey, he just hasn't shot particularly well in his 8 career without J-Dub. But, I mean, if you look at his overall game log, like when he plays bad defenses, he sometimes pretty easily clears this. I mean, he has triple doubles against Portland, Utah. He has big lines against Detroit, Spurs, Nets, and those are all in pretty short minutes. Like he's averaging, 26.5 PRA in just 25 minutes at home since the end of December. So, like, I mean, it hasn't happened yet in terms of him becoming a full-time player again for whatever reason. But I think I called this like a month ago or something like, oh, easy win for the Thunder. Like, let's just get Giddey some confidence because he's been whacked this season. Mind elsewhere, whatever. So when you're 16-point favorite against the Hornets, I don't have the balls to take an SGA under, but I'll take a Giddey over and assume that he's a little more involved.
Yeah, I mean, Godspeed. It makes sense because we were kind of talking about, all right, well, where does the pressure come out? Like, if all these shots for J-Dub are not going to be there, where do they go? And they go to Isaiah Joe because he's the shooting guard on this team. Whenever J-Dub isn't really in there, but Josh Giddey's listed as like a shooting guard on all these different, against the position sites and stuff like that. Is there anybody who personifies shooting guard less than Josh Giddey? It makes no sense. That is not his archetype. He is point small forward at if anything, right? So, I'm hesitant. I'm be honest. I'm not tailing anything in that game. If anything, I think I might lean towards like a Brandon Miller prop because the volume will just be there. Once this game is a 28-point blowout in the 3rd quarter, it's just going to be the Brandon Miller show. which is what it's been since Terry Rozier got traded. Like, it could not be more obvious that Terry Rozier getting traded was because, I mean, this team's going nowhere, but also, like, we need Brandon Miller to take those 21 shots that you're pulling every game right now, Terry. And that's where they've gone. So I think the 19.5 points is still viable for him because even he's the most protected against a blowout possibility, in my opinion, of like any player on the entire floor outside of maybe like a Kason Wallace for the Thunder. That's kind of where I lean for this game, is like who's going to be coming in at the middle to the end of the third quarter to soak up those minutes. Even if this is like an 8-point lead for the Thunder, I cannot imagine that Daigneault switches up his rotations to make sure he has his guys in there to beat the Charlotte Hornets at home. So I'm with points being there from unexpected players. Giddey, we'll see. He's always an anomaly to me. But let's go back to a show favorite. I got to be honest, like, this is sort of our DDR, is it not? Vince Williams. We look for him all the time. Last year and the year before, we've always been a big DeMar DeRozan team fan here on this show. And now I think we're in the Vince Williams camp. So let's go over 13.5 points for Vince Will. I don't know if that's his official nickname, but I will for sure be heretofore calling him Vince Will. He's shooting all threes and he's shooting all layups. That's really it. And I love those type of players, the most efficient players in the league, as we know, unless you're KD and have the mid-range of Michael Jordan. But more importantly for Vince Will, he is not a mid-range player. And that is good in this scenario because going to the rim against the Dubs is a good idea. In their last 5, they're allowing a ton of free throws as well. They're allowing a ton of free throws the whole season, man. I look at their last 5 because Draymond's been back, and that's really what we can expect moving forward now, is like this Draymond, TJD. Dario Saric is out. Not that he was much of a rim protector. He's a power forward anyway. But they're thin down low, as they've always been, right? As we know. So Kevon Looney, not quite the same. We've seen that already. Maybe playing 82 games a year on a dude who came into the league not even knowing if he was going to stay in the league because he had such bad hips and back, and now he was playing 82 games a year, and that seems to have taken its toll because he's for sure having the worst year of his career in the last 3, and his minutes have dwindled as a result. So Vince Will going to the basket means the 4 free throw attempts he's taking a game, I think those are liable to go up a couple ticks. We just saw him score 24 against this team. He's shooting 5.5 threes a game, and he's making 3 of them right now. So I don't expect that to remain, but I think he's going to be shooting a few more threes than the 5.5 that he's averaged over the last 7 games or so. And like I said, Golden State's defense, 3rd most threes on 3rd most attempts. So you can either get threes against them or you can get free throws against them. And that's exactly what Vince Will should be doing in a game that, like, the only dudes that we know that are going to get minutes if they play, and he's going to play. I don't know why Jaren Jackson Jr. would sit. Those 3, maybe Santi Aldama gets those shots as well if he wants them. But there's really Vince, those 3 guys are basically the dudes with the green light, is my point. So Vince Will with the field goal attempts up to about 14 a game. And I think that will continue to rise as you see more dudes that you've never heard of step on the floor for Memphis tonight.
Yeah, I love that. I love this that you went back to him after he didn't hit once. He's not our DDR because he's missed once. But yeah, I love finding a way to go over here because the Dubs defense is just not good overall. But you do have Draymond, hassling Triple J in this one. The Grizzlies are going to find a way to score here, and you think Vince will probably be a big part of that with how stripped down their roster is.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and we'll see some Jemison. I don't know his first name, but there's a gentleman out there named Jemison last night. Not to be confused with Jameson, but that is all the time we have for you guys. Continue to follow along if you would. We've got best bets up in a separate video for you guys, bringing you that each and every weekday this season. So until we see you next, happy betting.